Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James. Time for another instructive chess miniature. This time we're going to be saying Fischer again, doing another beautiful attack. And this time it's called a memorable blockade, or maybe just unstoppable blockade. However you want to remember it. This was one of my first games that I really was just like, this guy Fischer's, he's a pretty good player. Let's take a look and see how this game goes. Plays against the very famous American grandmaster, Pal Benko. We start out with e4, g6, the modern defense. Pawn to d4, bishop g7, knight c3, all book right here. Pawn d6, pawn f4, just like Fischer before me. I like to play this Austrian attack, and well, just like Nakamura before him, he follows after Fischer's footsteps on this one. This is definitely a great attacking opening that gives you really good center and, well, gives you plenty of attacking chances. Here we go. Knight f6, knight f3, castles, bishop to d3. Typically, I don't like to play like this way, but this is, well, I mean, Fischer plays it, so it must be pretty good. Benko plays bishop g4. Here, I'd be very happy to see this move and play the same move that, well, Fischer would play. He played h3 here. Bishop takes, queen takes. Here, we grab the bishop here, and we go ahead and get a free developing move because the bishop takes. Why did Pal Benko do this? Well, just like in a lot of these openings, this light square bishop over here for black is actually a bad piece. And just like in the King's Indian defense, which is very close to this pawn structure, it also makes the d4 square weak, which is where the knight's at. The knight is one of the main defenders here. So, well, I'm happy that Benko finishes up with a very nice move. He goes ahead and plays knight c6, and it's really hard to defend this square. Bishop e3 got played, and now for the breakthrough, pawn to e5. Again, these dark squares, it's where it's at, and this is exactly where Pal Benko is going to attack. Pawn takes on e5. Pawn takes on e5, and then pawn to f5. A very interesting way to play this. Looking at this, I would not have thought this was the pawn structure that would have happened. Here, typically, I think I would have played something like either pawn to d5 right away, which apparently is not too good here, as they're giving e takes f4, bishop takes f4, knight e5 as a decent move, or maybe even knight to d4 here. Again, it's all about these dark squares. Queen f2, and knight can go to d7 or h5 right here, and you can see that the dark squares are just very weak, and black's doing a very good job on them. Again, this is why this pawn exchange was so good for Fischer. He plays pawn takes, pawn to f5 here, and the idea is just to go for kingside attack. And, well, Fischer has lots of ideas here. He can castle queenside if he wants to, or maybe just push the pawns up this way too. Here he does neither of those. Here, after pawn takes, queen takes, knight d4, queen f2, knight to e8. A very interesting move here. It looks like he was trying to get this idea of either queen f6 in, or maybe just pawn to f5 in as soon as possible, as typically that is a King's Indian defense idea. With that being said, this was not allowed, and Fischer goes ahead and plays castles kingside. The idea here, well, we get another attacker over here, and, well, we're putting pressure on this f5 square. Well, Benko says, I really want to play f5. Knight d6 gets played. Again, f5 is one of the threats. And here, it looks like Fischer starts coming up with this great blockading idea. Queen g3 gets played. Here's simple tactic. Bishop h6, winning idea. King h8. Queen g4. Again, taking a look at this f5 square. c6, allowing the queen to jump in over to the queen side. Or maybe you can just do some queenside expansion over here. Queen h5, and at this point, Benko comes up with a bad idea here that it looks like it should be okay, but it turns out just to be a forced loss. He plays queen e8, and the game is over with this next move. What was the idea of queen e8? Well, again, he wanted to play f5, so the idea is to play f5 here, and the queen was just looking to be traded. So if he can go and get into an endgame, I'm sure Benko would have been very happy and been able to play. But here he comes up with a beautiful idea, Fischer does, to stop this game. Okay. If you want to try to guess this one, please go ahead and push pause. It is 3 moves out until the blockading move, but the idea here is you want to play queen takes h7 here. Okay, well, you know what? Let's get a little bit closer. We play bishop takes, pawn has to take back, and here you want to play pawn to e5 here, right? I mean, e5 is the move that you want to play here, but unfortunately it just doesn't work because what does black play? f5 here, killing your idea. Because, well, you can't do the pawn exchange because the queen hangs. And if you do trade queens, well, the knight just takes back. The game is equal, and the game is still going. I mean, this knight over here is hanging too, so I guess the knight will jump to e2 here. And, oof, bishop takes on e5. Not too good here. Benko is now up an extra pawn. So what do you do after this move? The idea is to not allow f5 to get played. Can you find the move? Hopefully he found the very famous blockading move. Rook to f6 exclam. Look at that beautiful move. And now it becomes very apparent that, well, this king is not escaping here. In the game, you know, he played king g8 to try and escape, but other variations are just as bad as this one. Bishop takes f6 main line, and here you simply play pawn e5, and there's no good way to stop queen takes on h7 for mate. Knight e4, bishop takes, pawn h6, queen takes, king g8, and mate. Oh my dear lord, look at this beautiful idea. And, well, again, he tried to play something like king g8 to try and get out of this. And, well, we play the same move, pawn to e5, pawn to h6. And here, well, you can go ahead and stop the checkmate now, but you're going to be losing material. Here, Fischer just played the simple knight e2, and Benko resigns, as there's, again, just no good way to defend without losing material here. If the knight moves somewhere, let's just say it goes to, I don't know, b5, here queen f5, and again, the game is over. So you can't move the knight away or else you're going to be losing it. Bishop takes on f6, again, the same idea. Queen takes on h6, and unstoppable mate is on h7 here, coming up next. So at this point, yeah, he just went ahead and threw in the towel, and he went ahead after e5, h6, 92. He just threw in the towel and just resigned here, as there's nothing good you can do. Rook takes d6 is being thrown. Rook takes h6 ideas are in the air. Just too many winning plans here. Benko, I'm done. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this beautiful blockading game. We'll see you in the next one.